It's Saturday, it's Hollywood Balls, it's the football app, it's me, Geordie Pete Redding. Well, we couldn't find a Dulux dog, he's too busy, so you'll have to make do with this lot. Okay, coming up on today's show, where we're joined by the North East leading sports journalist Liam Kennedy from the Shields Gazette. He's going to be joining us as we look at Newcastle and their continuing takeover, and of course what's going on the pitch. We're going to be looking at social media and football. We touched on it last week, but we're going to touch on it for a different reason this week. Social media companies in the limelight yet again. Then there's the small matter of the Europa League. Panned out nicely for England, hasn't it? FA Cup semi-final weekend, and of course, Hollywood Baller of the Week. And if that's not enough, we've got 7 entrants today, Super Kev. 7 people are taking part in our Take Them On, of which we will update people who won last week. So, after that, I'm going to come to you first, Kev. How's your week been?
It's been a good week, Pete, I've got to say. Was on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
Done the West Bromwich Albion versus Southampton game, and then the Brighton versus Everton game. Done that on Monday. I was on Sky Sports again yesterday. So I'm having quite a bit of dialogue with Sky at the moment, but it's been a good week.
Where are you coming to from us today? Whereabouts are you?
Manchester today.
Okay, so you only save the nice backdrops for Sky Sports and not Hollywood Balls. Is that right?
Yeah. No, I'm in studio. Thank God. I get to travel.
We'll get the thoughts of George in a second as well, because George has had a busy week. He was on with me as well last night. But last night's game, Everton 2, Tottenham 2. Would you take that, Kev, given what happened?
Yeah, I think the way Everton played on the day, you would have said, if they had a little bit more composure probably at the back, there was an opportunity to win it, because it was really 2 mistakes. But you can't make mistakes around Harry Kane, because he's too dangerous a striker.
Lethal.
But considering how they've been of late, 2-2, you would have taken that. I'm sure they would have taken that. Brings
me nicely into George. George, we were just talking off air. I mean, we were on air last night for a fascinating show with our TFA family. Welcome to them, by the way, flying in through the doors. TFA have joined us. You're live on Facebook also, and on the YouTube channel. So welcome to everyone. George, happy with the point?
Yeah, happy with the point. Disappointed with the first half performance. Spurs were, let me think about this, dreadful. Second half a bit better, but it's indication, isn't it? Everton had more opportunities and goal against Spurs than I think any game in the season they've had. That's indicative of what's going on at Spurs. So yeah, it's very sad. But we just hope Harry Kane is okay for the final. Let's see.
Fingers crossed. Great. The Jinx is in the house, Kev. He's doing the ironing.
Is he? So, Great. Yeah, he's doing the ironing. Go on, great.
He's doing the ironing. That's got to be a reference for West Ham, hasn't it? Doing the ironing. Come on, West Ham, he says. So it's a big welcome. Finally, it's taken a year in the making. Liam joins us. Liam, how are you doing?
Really good, mate. Coming in from Newcastle. Good to see you again.
Great to see you. Listen, guys, a fantastic journalist, as you all know, the guys that follow the Newcastle on-field and off-field dramas will be well versed with Liam from the Gazette in Shields. But it's his way of reporting that's endeared him to the whole of the Northeast, which is why we've got him on the show. It's taken a while. I've got to say, though, Liam, our sort of relationship started way back under another previous takeover, didn't it?
That's some build-up you've given us there, Pete, isn't it? Yeah, it was in a couple of years. It's been a lot of crazy summers at Newcastle United. It's just been constant takeover, and it was obviously the BZG stuff that brought us together into contact. Obviously, you've got amazing contacts over there with those guys. And I can't remember how it happened. Did you reach out to me, or I reached out to you, or something? We got in a conversation.
Bit of both, but we got there.
Yeah, we did, and we're basically in constant dialogue that whole summer, really. Just getting bits and bobs from what was going on, and there was a lot going on, a lot of stuff that obviously things didn't eventually work out the way everyone would have hoped. But it was an exciting summer all the same, and it made for some good copy, some really interesting pieces that we put together. And yeah, it's only continued on from there as well. And now another Middle East country with the Saudi Arabians and the links to obviously a lot of the other states with Amanda Staveley and Murdoch Hidusi. But yeah, it's just been a real crazy couple of years at Newcastle United. But the key thing, the constant is Mike Ashley still owns the football club. And there isn't really any end in sight to that, really. There's an arbitration down the line. Who knows when that'll happen? Anybody who tells you they know what's going on with it isn't worth listening to because they just don't. It's all confidential. We'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. One thing you can definitely say is that the appetite for change at Newcastle United is constant. People are absolutely desperate. Near 40 years of stasis, really. The club is, well, I say stasis, the club hasn't stood still. It's accelerated backwards, to be honest. 2 relegations in that time. Newcastle have almost, in most people's eyes, justifiably so, become a little bit of a yo-yo club. They'll jump up and down the divisions, and that's not Newcastle United. Historically, it just isn't. So it's a real shame that we find ourselves where we are, but I've just got everything crossed here that one day we'll be able to talk about an ownership change.
Well, let's hope so. And as you said rightly in your article yesterday, mate, you know, there's still a lot to sort out on the pitch, but we'll touch on that in a bit. A couple of hellos to do. Dave Douglas, who was on recently, hi to him and all the guys at Berwick Rangers, who Hollywood Balls are now involved with. Can't wait to see the advertising hoardings. Graham, we've touched on. Kev, I've got to say, the 7 people. There's a battle going to be going on today in the predictions because there's Manchester City, there's Manchester United, there's Toon in there, there's Sunderland in there. It's fantastic. Looking forward to that one. Okay, I want to start with this. I made reference to it obviously with what's happened with Spurs, but it paints a bigger picture with the social media. George, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we had that. It has induced great hilarity with Spurs and the paint, which will remain nameless. But there's more to it than that, because also, if you think back to a couple of weeks ago, Joe Hart was involved in a gaffe. Young Foden's unhappy at Man City. So it's sort of pointing the finger at it needs to be tightened up or shipped out, doesn't it?
Well, I think, you know, it appears that, you know, if someone is in person and they talk to someone, generally they're more responsible. Some reason, when you get on a keyboard, people lose sight of being responsible. And you make crazy comments. Now the Dulux one is a lot of fun. It's probably someone in the organisation who's an Arsenal or a Chelsea or West Ham fan. That happens. That's, you know, you can understand that.
Not ideal, though, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing for Dulux, very embarrassing for Spurs. It's very embarrassing for the whole ecosystem. But players' individual gaffes, they don't seem to ever stop. You know, you've got, and you know, at a time when we're talking about let's stop the racism, which should be the primary focus. Yeah, you have silly, in comparison, silly, but still poor behaviour that drags. That tarnishes the name of the game of football and indeed football players, right? It doesn't ingratiate football players in terms of having good reputations when you make silly gaffes, but people just have to learn, right? It's a part of life.
Kev, did it come up yesterday in your questioning? Was it referred to?
No, it wasn't quite referred to. But you know, players will be players, especially when players have downtime. When you see a player getting interviewed after a game or etc., you know they're in game mode. But when they're away from the ground, they're in their own personal space, they relax a little bit. And that's when you see these mistakes get made, unfortunately. I know there's quite a few footballers who I think their agency looks after their account. But the players who actually look after their own account have got into battles and barneys and made some real gaffes, you know, comments on their own personal social media thing. So it's very difficult because as a footballer, you've got to try and be as straight as possible, and you can't waver.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're young lads, and it happens.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you, Liam. I mean, coming from a journalist perspective, you guys obviously have to be extremely careful when it comes to. I mean, obviously you've got your online edition of the paper and what have you, but as I'd said in the intro to your build up, that you know, Twitter's a big part of life for you and getting your news out. You must have to be careful of what you're tweeting and so on.
Social media in general can be a real force for positivity, but it can also be an absolute bear pit as well. You've got to make sure you get things right. I'll talk from a journalistic perspective, essentially, is that even if you make, because of the standard that you have, even if you slightly make a little spelling mistake in a tweet or whatever it may be, you might be tweeting at a game, for example, and it might be like 35 minutes, such and such has a shot on target or whatever. If there's a slight error in it, honestly, the amount of people who will dive on you straight away, and you're like, mate, I've just tweeted that in about 10 seconds because I'm watching a game, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But my opinion on the footballers thing is that I think it was Gary Neville I seen talking about this, and he talked a little bit about saying, where's the personality? And I don't mind the idea of players looking after their own social media. It will bring with it the potential for, like you say, Kev, more gaffes and things like that, and a bit more. But I like the personality, to be honest. I wouldn't personally like the idea of paying an agency to tweet something out for me. That's not my voice. I would rather do it myself. And I think looking at the Phil Foden thing this week, that it was really antagonistic. He got really angry about it. It was a bit of fun, essentially, but I can see why a young player still making his name in the game, he isn't totally established, would want to sort of lay down that gauntlet to somebody who essentially is established in Kylian Mbappe, who is a world level.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to make excuses for the footballers, but can you imagine what it's like as a young man, a 19, 20, 21-year-old? You're at the height of the game, you're under so much pressure, and they're young men. I mean, you know, they're not 4,000 years old like we are, you know? I mean, it's... And even, I mean, you see politicians all over the place with lots of experience making gaffes on social media. So we have to be understanding, I think. But it's, you know, it's like anything in life. You don't want to be too harsh in your criticisms and your judgments. Sometimes you raise your eyebrows, but what do? You know?
I think as well, Kev, you sent me a couple of WhatsApps regarding it as well. We were chatting about it. There was one, and I have to say, Spurs have done, I think, which is really admirable. They've had to laugh at themselves, George. You know,
gloss it over. Right?
Yeah,
love it. That was fabulous.
Right. So they, you know, if you put you can pretend it hasn't happened, and that just ignites it even more. They've got involved. They've said, listen, guys, look, there's been an error. So what? Move on. Have a laugh. And you know, have a look at the.
Pete, I think they've done the best thing they can do is take the steam out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've taken the steam, but once you've said, we're going to gloss over it, all of a sudden everyone has a laugh, and then it's like, all right, on to the next. Because it's done then. You know, if they were like trying to defend it, then everybody will pile on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Do you not think, I was going to make a comment on that. Do you not think this could have all been part of some kind of clever idea to get... I didn't know football clubs had paint partners. Who knew that happened? And I don't think... Who would have known? Who would have known that Spurs had a paint partner unless this madness happened?
Liam, when it comes to financial creativity... I think Spurs are up there. You know, I mean, there was. I read a story that Spurs are the 10th biggest club in the world, right, financially, right?
Yeah. Last
week, so they do a great job. I'm not sure how good they are at deploying their capital with managers and stuff, but that's another story.
Speaking of another story, you've got to move close to London, but Arsenal, Kev's beloved Arsenal, great result, Kev, wasn't it for Europa League?
Yeah, they really turned up this week, Pete. After last week, where really they should have buried this Slavia Prague team. This week was the telltale sign. They needed to turn up. The pressure was on, And especially with what's going on in the background with the racism and all that kind of thing. You know, there was an iconic moment from Lacazette before the game.
Yeah.
He wore the captain's armband. You know, looked them all in the eye. And Arsenal went to town. And, you know, there ain't many times where I could sit back, Pete, and relax after 25 minutes. I could tell you that much.
Yeah.
But they really did go for this game, and they performed really well and won the game convincingly.
Yeah.
And by some magical UEFA, they've avoided Manchester United. They've got a nice, tasty tie against a former manager. You looking forward to that one, Kev?
Yeah, I really am.
Pencil for your script.
Oh, big time. I really am looking forward to that. Villarreal are a good side. Obviously, Unai Emery was the last ex-manager, and it's gonna be a really good tie. Listen, Arsenal should win it. Arsenal will go into it favourites, but if Arsenal mess about, Villarreal will beat them. I'm telling you, if they mess about.
And what about Man United? They steadily went about their business, but they've got a tough one as well, haven't they? So there's work to be done before we can sort of talk about the British final.
Pete, look, both English teams are favourites in their respective. But again, if you don't approach it the right way, or you think you're already through, or there's a bit of complacency, you know what happens. The trapdoor opens and you go down. So Manchester United favourites in their one, Arsenal favourites in theirs. If both teams turn up, it could be an All England final.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a Man U Arsenal final. I think that's what the bookies would say. That's the form, I think. Yeah.
And George, you'd be ordering a Man United top in just for the final.
Let me think about that. Let me think about that.
No chance.
He's not going to be supporting Arsenal, is he?
No, he's not.
That's correct. That's correct.
No,
that's
he's
correct.
definitely not. It'll be. Listen, it'll be like me doing his hair or something. Forget all that.
Listen, what I will say is, look, I take my hat off. Arsenal were fantastic before the game, during the game, and after the game. Okay, it wasn't just the performance. They made a point for the topic we were discussing, right? And fair play to Lacazette. I thought that was very magnanimous. So listen, they were great. Man U were very confident. I think it's good for the English game. It wasn't that many years ago that the finals were always Spanish teams or Italian teams.
Exactly.
Now the British teams are now, we're the
strongest.
Yeah, it's great. It's good for English football. Yeah.
Thanks for all the messages. We'll get to as many as we can. I'm going to come to Liam in a second, but don't forget, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It keeps you abreast of guests of what we've got coming up. It was great to have Rob Lee on last week's show, which brings me in nicely. Liam, he took Newcastle to get an away win, and away win they got.
Yeah, it wasn't the kind of performance that really fills you full of confidence, but at this time, at this business end of the season, it doesn't matter. You just got to get the results, you know what I mean? And getting a win under such pressure is a big one, because Newcastle United haven't dealt with the pressure very well this season. They've really struggled when they've had to go and get results. They've really struggled to get wins, to be honest. That's 3 wins in about 21, 22 games now. It's been quite an incredible run. I don't think there's many managers or many clubs in England that would have kept their manager for this long. I think Steve Bruce probably got the sack at most of our football clubs. I'm not sure he would have got in the door at many other Premier League football clubs anyway, or most teams at the top of the Championship. But we are where we are as a club, and Newcastle United now, almost in the space of 10 days, have gone from really, I would say, from January on up till sort of about 10 days ago, you really felt Newcastle United were absolute favourites to get relegated. They were only heading in one direction. But a couple of results, a decent-ish performance against Tottenham, thoroughly deserved to get a point at St James's Park. I was there that day. It was a refreshing performance from Newcastle United, considering how bad they've been. And then to follow it up with, not with the performance at Burnley, but just to grind out that win from, especially going behind. It looked pretty grim at half time. It was really positive. But look, you've got to say that Newcastle United, I don't like making excuses and injuries, and because I don't think Newcastle United are good enough anyway. I think they would struggle even with these players, but it's an amazing difference when you put an Alan St Maximin into the team. And it's an amazing difference. I thought, the way I looked at it was, Callum Wilson coming on, he didn't look fit, but it almost just gave a headache for the defenders. They thought, all right, now we're in the game, and they dropped back that 5-10 yards, and it just gave the space for St. Maximin. Such a massive player. We'll find out soon if he's going to be playing today. Newcastle play this afternoon.
Yep.
I suspect St. Maximin will probably come in from the start. Wilson, maybe not. I think Wilson might they might give him another week, because with these type of injuries, muscle injuries, hamstrings, you've got to be really, really careful with them. Especially players such as St. Maximin and Wilson, who really rely on the quick movement and pace and things like that. I think it would be quite risky to throw Wilson in already, because he didn't really look fit when he came on at Burnley. You can tell with a player when they're running at 70%, when they were running for things, and it wasn't quite the Wilson of the start of the season, but just having him in and around mentally is a big, big boost for Newcastle United. But there's other players in that team that have come back in recently and done really well. You look at the likes of Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy's been an absolute revelation. He was kissing the badge after scoring the goal, and I know a lot of people frown at that, but he was brought up a Newcastle fan, and his mum and dad are from the area, and you can tell he means it. And just getting those type of players, the Sean Longstaffs, the Paul Dummets, getting them back in the side, and just giving that bit of I know it sounds really colloquial and really like sort of dodgy, saying, "Oh, we'll want a team full of Geordies," but don't. But it's quite nice having that little freshness in there, because these lads know what it means for Newcastle United. But there's players as well like Matt Ritchie, who's come in and brought a real competitive energy back into the team, and Martin Dubravka is for me one of the top goalkeepers in the Premier League. I think you would arguably get in most sides apart from the top few in the Premier League. He's a top goalkeeper. So there are signs there for Newcastle United, but they need to follow it up. They can't now allow the likes of, got an opportunity today against a very, very good West Ham side. They can't allow that door to reopen again for teams like West Brom and Fulham. We've seen it before. Aston Villa, great escapes. We've seen other teams. We've
seen our own Kev Campbell in one.
Yeah. We've seen lots of it. You never write it off when it matters, can you? At the end of the season, it's almost 6 points is nothing at the bottom. I know it's a good gap, and you'd rather have it than not, but that can evaporate very, very quickly. And I actually look at that battle at the bottom. Not to get too boring, lads. I don't want to talk about the good football, but we'll talk about this at the bottom for a bit. But yeah, I think I look at West Brom and Sam Allardyce, and that's what's in the back of my mind, to think maybe have they left it too late, but they might not have, because he's the type of manager who can get a reaction out of squads. And I think we're starting to see them build a little bit of momentum.
And what's interesting about Sam Allardyce and West Brom is that, unlike his prior escapes, perhaps West Brom are playing some very good quality football. They're getting the credit because of the last two results, but they're playing some very good football. It's very good on the eye. It's very impressive, actually. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, George, Pete. I'll tell you what, Liam. The fixtures haven't been kind to Newcastle.
No.
Yeah.
And if ever you think where Newcastle really need a result is today.
Yeah.
West Ham have got a few injuries. And you're right about Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson might not be fit, but you have to account for him when he comes on. And it does create the space. I think he will be on the bench today. I don't think he'll start today.
I think Lee makes a good couple of points, but Kev, I wanted to touch on West Ham. If Newcastle had a go today, everyone's talking about West Ham and what a fantastic job, and it is. But there is one thing there that does give me a little bit of hope. They look susceptible at the back.
Listen, I'm saying this now, so I fancy Newcastle today, and people might say what, but I seriously do. I think that momentum after last week was so important, especially going a goal down, getting back into the game, and St. Maximin coming on and then scoring the goal he did. That would have given everybody at Newcastle a shot in the arm. Now, when you look at the fixtures, this is the game. You get 3 points today. It's a lot for the others to make up. It really is.
Before everyone else as well.
And before everyone else. When you're waiting in the dressing room and you're waiting for a result to come through, everyone's thinking, how did Newcastle do? If Newcastle wins, it's like, because it's such a tough ask. But if Newcastle don't do the business, it gives everyone else a lift.
It does indeed. Speaking of doing the business, it's FA Cup semi-final weekend as well, and there's some two fantastic ties. None more so. I mean, we'll get onto them in the predictions, but Chelsea, Man City. Kev, just to come back to you on this one first. Chelsea, they quite fancy it. I mean, they've made such a serious progression under Double T, haven't they? They'll believe that they can beat City.
Yeah, they will definitely believe. They are also in the other Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. So they're going to fancy their chances. But, City are on a curve of destiny. This is one of the things that if you're going to do a double, treble, quadruple, which they can get, you have to see off some of the best teams. And the only thing I think realistically is City have firepower. Chelsea have firepower, but they're not consistent. And that's the only thing I think that might catch up with them on this one. I do fancy City in this one.
It's got to be a tight game. TT has done a great job at Chelsea. He's brought the players together. They're really doing great. I think Chelsea is going to be very tight.
George, I mean, we talked last week about the magic of the cup and for Spurs, but Liam, we have our own sort of, Sunderland fans laugh at us and we'll take the mick and say that they've got a famous history, but they have with War Jackie and whatnot. We love a good cup run. Unfortunately, I've been to Wembley a few times, never seen us win, of course, but the FA Cup is special still, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, of course it is. I think any silverware is special. If you're a player, you'd much rather have a medal around your neck than not. You know what I mean? Even if it's the League Cup or whatever. Even if you win, for lesser players, if you win a championship further down the divisions, medals are medals, and you want medals at the end of your career. I would argue. I think you're better off being in that place. The FA Cup itself, I still think, is a special competition. Yes, it has lost its shine because there have been the European competitions in the eyes of the bigger clubs have taken the shine off that a little bit there, the focus, and it's understandable why they are. But consistently, you'll see the top clubs still winning the FA Cup, still getting the finals, even though they might play lesser sides. Arsenal have become the FA Cup side of the last few years, really, apart from this season, of course. And it's a good way. It's a good thing to keep taking over. So take Arsenal for an example. They haven't been fighting for titles, but it's just been keeping them relevant. It's been keeping them relevant because they've been winning titles in a slightly lesser in the FA Cup, but they've been winning every single year. And then players have been getting, they might not be fighting for always definitely going to be in the Champions League or whatever it may be, but they kind of know that this club takes those cups seriously. And I might walk away at the end of the season, okay, I might not have finished first or second, but I might have a medal around my neck as well. And I think that's a big thing for the two other teams in the competition at the moment. Is you look at Chelsea and Man City is the obvious massive standout game of this, but I look at a team like a Leicester, and if they can put these kind of the mess that they've had with the Jose Perez lockdown party or whatever it may be that he had, if they can put that mess behind them, this is a real good opportunity for somebody like a Leicester City to get a medal back around their necks. I don't rate Southampton. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. They're an absolute mess in terms of the way they've been playing for the last 3 to 4 months. And it's just been lucky that maybe Danny Ings has produced the odd goal here or there, that they haven't been sucked into the relegation battle at the bottom of the Premier League. But that Chelsea Man City game for me is really a real mouth-watering tie. It's got the look of you talk of Tuchel and you talk about the way he's totally reorganised this Chelsea side from the Lampard side. They play a totally different way. They're much more organised, much more compact. They're a good side. They are a really good side with quality players. He maybe still hasn't been able to get the best out of certain players. I know there's a lot of question marks about like Kai Havertz and people like this. Like, what position should he play? How does he fit in? But I think that the absolute form player that's really good for England going into the summer. I look at Mason Mount, and I didn't have Mason Mount. I probably rated in that position. I maybe rated like Foden, even Maddison and players like that, Grealish. I rated them more than I did Mason Mount at the start of the season. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Mason Mount, hands down, has been probably the best sort of player in that position in the division, arguably in Europe, because he's a consistent performer. Goals, assists, international level, Champions League, Premier League. I think he's a fantastic player.
Real deal. Got to say hi to Neil. He says that West Ham remind him of Newcastle under West Ham. Totally agree. Punching a little bit with still a soft back four. We'll see today. Okay, George, I'm going to come to you. It's time for your Hollywood Baller of the Week, where we recognise a hero. Who have you got for us, George?
Casemiro, Real Madrid. He played 2 unbelievable games. One against El Clasico against Barcelona, and I was very disappointed at that game. It was only 90 minutes. It should have been 4 hours. What a game! It broke
you
my
were
heart.
all set, weren't you, George? George, listen, it was like he warned everyone. It's sofa time. It's classic. That's it.
But sometimes El Clasicos are not great games. This was a great game. It had everything in it, including the changing weather conditions. And like I say, I was robbed. It was only 90 minutes. I have a beef with God. It should have been at least 3 hours, right? But Casemiro, he was incredible in that game. He was incredible against Liverpool. Defensive midfield. He knows exactly what he's doing. Baller of the week for me by far.
Good. Christos says, he's an absolute monster. He is. Kev, who's your baller of the week?
My baller of the week is Alexander Lacazette at Arsenal. Obviously, that iconic photo, but on Sunday and on Thursday, scores 2 goals, leads the team, captain on the Thursday. And wow, what a performance. I just think he was superb in both games. But the really telling game was that Thursday game. And he's my baller of the week.
Good, and it's great. I've got to say hi to the girls from the Highbury squad because they were all in really good spirits this week. There was I sort of tiptoe around them on Twitter if the Arsenal haven't played well. So hi to them and congratulations. And I could greet them. You sort of put your head down in the street, Kev. When you walk past them. Don't mention. Good stuff. Liam, have you got a baller of the week for us?
I have, of course, being a Newcastle United fan and writing about Newcastle United is my job. I'm going to have to pick a Newcastle United player. And it might surprise you, I'm not going to go for Alan St-Maximin. I'm going to go for Martin Dubravka as my pick, as my baller of the week. Because Newcastle United would not have won that game. They were 1-0 down, and Martin Dubravka gave confidence to his back four because he came for absolutely everything, punched everything, saved everything, and kept Newcastle United just in touch, 1-0 down, and they managed to produce the goods. He's really come to the fore. He was a new dad as well. He only became a dad within the last fortnight. So there'll be a lot of sleepless nights in the Dubravka household at the moment. But he's producing the goods on the pitch, so that's what matters for Newcastle United fans. And
he did have a game, and the commentary from what I watched, there was a point in that game where he saved from, I think it was Dummett. Dummett deflected something back, and someone said, the co-commentator said right then, how important will that save be at 90 minutes? So I go with that as well. Obviously, Matt Allen did his bit when he came on, the dancing and the goals. But I agree with you on that. Okay. Jace Edwards has just messaged in and he says, it's a message for Kev. He says, tell Kev that I have my predictions in on time this week.
I know they're in on time this week. I've noticed that. I even saw the prediction.
He's obviously worried. You've got, Kev's a bully when it comes to this predictions. He's running it with a rod of iron.
Pete, I'm not a bully. He's trying to claim stuff when he's late. Can't have that, Pete. You can't claim after the event. No, your scores have to be in time.
Well, we're going to have to spend a bit of time on that. I've just got to come back to the Cup, the FA Cup, that is. And George, obviously, being a Spurs fan, so many great tales. I remember just a few months back, I was talking with a certain referee, and we were talking about our favourite Cup final, and it was Spurs, and it was the Ricky Villa, and he went, "Oh yeah, I was the ref that day. It was Hollywood Ball's own Keith Hackett." Just to drop that into the conversation, and but Spurs, a great Cup pedigree as well, right? With Gaza.
Listen, I just get the hairs on the back of my neck stand up thinking that game. I was there, of course. A friend of mine sent me a tweet yesterday, actually. It was yesterday, of the semi-final replay against Wolves at Highbury when Spurs won 3-0. Garth Crooks getting 2 goals. Great. Spurs have a great pedigree, or at least they used to have a great pedigree in their FA Cup. It's a great competition. We all know that the rage is top 4 is more important than the FA Cup. But the FA Cup is special, absolutely special. Yeah,
it is indeed. So looking forward to the games. From that, obviously, there's still some big games in the Premier League to play. We've touched on Newcastle and West Ham. I'll have my Arsenal shirt on as well because Kev, they're playing Fulham. What I wanted to ask you to get the inside track from the Gooners is, it's not going to be that result's taken everything out of you. And when it comes to domestic duties this weekend, you let us down, is it?
No, Pete, I'll be honest with you. After the last couple of... after the Benfica game, we were playing Leicester. Yeah. And we ended up winning that game 3-1. And after the last game, it was the Liverpool, and we never turned up. So if I'm honest with you, Pete, I don't know what Arsenal's going to turn up. But
you've been saying that all season.
Yeah, I've been saying that all season. But I think now, as far as I'm concerned, Mikel Arteta's getting through to the players in the head now.
Okay.
If they don't approach the game with energy, Pete, Arsenal are in trouble. They have to have the energy.
I will add something there, Kevin, to your point. I think there is more motivation now. Arsenal has momentum. I will say this could be the first season in many, many, many seasons where Arsenal finish above Spurs. That's a motivating factor now, right?
It is, yeah. It is.
There was mention, speaking of finishing above your rivals, Liam, there was a certain Sunderland, Mickey Gray, tweeted a couple of weeks ago that he was looking forward to a derby next year. I think you might want to rethink that one, Mickey, given the fact that Sunderland are currently in the process of blowing up automatic promotion, and Newcastle could still be in the Premier League. So we'll leave Mickey alone with his thoughts on that one. But yeah, there's still a lot to play for, big games, and as Kev said, not looking forward to the run of games. Okay, speaking of runs, we're going to have to take a run at the predictions because we've literally got 7 people involved. So and I couldn't say no to them because they're all special in their own right to the show and to me personally. So we went with the games. The boys have got their scores ready. Gosh, there's just so many. We'll come to Liam first, and we're going to ask you for Chelsea Man City. What's your prediction, mate?
Are we going scorelines or just results? Are we going
scorelines?
Scorelines, yeah. Scorelines, yeah.
Scorelines. So I'm going to say that Man City edge it 2-1.
Man City to edge it 2-1. Kev?
Yep, I've got 2-1 as well to City.
Okay, and George?
I have exactly the same.
Oh, okay. We've got a full house of those from you guys. Okay, so playing today, we've got Lee Cosgrove from Manchester, a guy I met whilst on holiday in Ibiza. As you can imagine, that was extremely quiet fortnight, looking for historical, museums and stuff. So Lee's in. He's a Man United fan. He's taken Chelsea to win. Next along, we've got Lee's friend also from Manchester, who was also in Ibiza, Martin Craig. They're like Laurel and Hardy. He's a City fan. So you can imagine the banter we've had on media this week between Lee and Martin. Hi, guys. Martin's obviously gone. He's taken City to win 2-0. Also, who else have we got? We've got Jace Edwards, obviously, who was in early enough. He's gone 3-1 to City, which is great. Gosh, there's so many. Gosh, I wish I hadn't said I was going to do 7. We've got Dave Usher. I've got to give a special mention to Dave. Massive Toon fan. Grew up with Dave and his dad, Les, sadly no longer with us. He used to take us to every away game. To watch the entertainers. So when Rob Lee was on last week, it was a special time. We've seen Dave's dad, Les, before. Get on the team coach after arriving at the away stadium and ask Keegan and Terry Mack what team he was playing and then try and go through the tactics with him. Such was Dave's dad. Fantastic man. Dave's taken them to win 2-1. That's City. And Carl from Wallsend Boys Club, he's taken Chelsea to win 2-1. Okay, moving on. So we've got Leicester against Southampton. Liam, what do you fancy for that?
I fancy that Leicester will put behind them the problems that they've had, that really poor performance against West Ham, and I think they'll win 3-0. Okay,
Kev?
I've got Leicester to win 3-1 against Southampton.
Wow. Okay, George?
2-0 to Leicester.
I think it's safe to say that most people are going with this Leicester vibe. Okay, so Lee's gone 3-1 Leicester. Martin's gone 2-1 Leicester. Tony.
No, Lee, did you say 3-0? Liam, you said 3. You said 3-0. 3-0. No, I'm saying Liam. I'm just because I'm writing it down. I've got to make sure. I've got to make sure. And George was 2-0.
Yeah.
Sorry, Liam. See, Kev likes to note the times of.
Liam, I'll take this serious.
In it to win it. Tony Manuel, massive Toon fan from the Philippines. Tony, sorry, he took City to win 2-1, but he's also taken 2-1 for Leicester and Southampton. Great stuff. Okay, Jason's taken 3-0 to Leicester. Dave Usher's taken 3-1 to Leicester, and Carl Walsh has taken 2-0 to Leicester. Okay, league duties. Liam, Newcastle, West Ham.
I'm going to go with 2s each. I think there'll be goals in this one.
Yeah.
I think Alan St. Maximin starting's a big thing. We've just seen the team news come through. I think it'll have a big impact on the game. West Ham are without a few key players, as the lads mentioned earlier. I think 2s each. I think Newcastle can get at them and get a couple of goals, and I think a point might just be enough to sort of keep the other sides sort of down there and concerned about the gap that's building up.
I'll take that, Kev.
I'm gonna go Newcastle 2, West Ham 1. 2-1 to the Toon Army, because West Ham don't have a good record at St. James's. So I'm going to go with history.
Okay, just to interrupt that, because Debbie Steeman is staying to join us. The reason that she's joining us is she switched James Martin off for 5 minutes because Liam's here from the Shields Gazette, and she's supporting one of her own because Debbie's from Shields. Lovely to have you on board. You can switch James back on now. You'll be teaching you how to do an omelette in a masterclass or something. Okay, who are we up to? George?
Yeah, Newcastle 1, West Ham United 2. I think West Ham, despite their injuries, I think this is their season. Moyes has done a great job. They have momentum. Yeah, I think West Ham will win 2-1. Every game's a cup final for West Ham now for that Champions League. They're going to give it everything they've got.
Big time. Okay, what else have we got? Lee's gone 2-1 to West Ham as well. Martin's gone 3-1. Jace, what's Jace got? He's got 2-1 to West Ham. Wow. Tony's gone 1-1 draw. Good shout. I'll take that. Dave has taken 2-1 to the Toon, and Carl has taken from Wallsend has taken a 1-1 draw. Arsenal Fulham, Liam.
Do you know what? I feel it's make or break for Fulham. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to start getting results, and I think this is probably a game that they look at. It's tough going to Arsenal, but I think this is the type of thing where they could produce a Liverpool type performance. They really, really need that. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I fancy them, especially after the exploits of Europe. We know it can have a big impact on clubs coming back and playing domestic football. I'm thinking Fulham will scrape a 1-1.
Okay. Debbie's back on. Can we get John Williams, the chef, on from South Shields? He's that celeb chef, isn't he? I'll try, Debbie. Yeah, that's. But thanks for being with us. We'll get you on predictions next week, Debbie. Okay, who's up next?
Me.
Go for it.
I'm going for 3-1. Arsenal 3-1.
Arsenal 3-1. George, your man's watching.
I would love Fulham to get a result, but Arsenal to win 2-0.
Okay, I was just looking for the mute bit on there. I can't find it.
Yeah.
Okay. Lee's gone 3-1 to the Arsenal. Martin's got 2-1. What else have we got? Tony's got 2-1 to the Arsenal. Jace has got 2-0. Dave's got 3-1 to the Arsenal. And Carl Walsh has got 2-0. Okay, last game for predictions. Man United, Burnley, Liam.
Really unimpressed by Burnley, how one-dimensional they were against Newcastle United. We know what they are, the set pieces and getting the ball in the box. But I think Man United are too good for them, to be honest. And I'm seeing a 2-0 Manchester United.
Okay. Kev?
I'm going one more than Liam. I'm going 3-0 Man United. I think Man United got too much firepower. 3-0.
Okay. Okay, and George?
3-0 Manchester United.
3-0. That's a statement result. And I tend to agree with Liam. I think from what I watched, that was why I think the first half, Liam, was so disappointing for Toon fans, because Burnley were sort of huffing and puffing, and Newcastle just weren't at it. So Burnley have got a bit of work to do. And there's obviously unrest because Dyche's there's talk about him leaving as well. Okay, Lee's gone 2-0 to Man United. Martin from Man City, surprisingly, has gone 1-0 to Burnley. Love it. It's awesome, isn't it? Tony's gone 2-0 to Man United. Jason's gone 3-0 to United. Dave's gone 3-0 to United. And Carl Walsh has gone the same as well. Dave Walsh has actually put an extra score in for Graham the Jinx, and he's taken Blackpool to win 3-0 today. Blackpool. I don't know who they're playing. Is it Sunderland by any chance? He's added one in there, which is fine by me. And a special mention to Carl. Carl Walsh is the manager of Wallsend Boys Club, the women's side, and his women's reserves. They take on Newcastle United ladies today. And he said, "Why didn't you put that in the predictions?" The simple reason, Carl, is because we don't want to jinx it for you. Because if it ends up in here, guarantee Wallsend are winning today. Brilliant stuff. Kev, what have you got on this week for the rest of the weekend?
I've got quite a few bits and pieces on. I've got a few interviews and stuff like that to do, but I'm finishing off the week with Friday night football, Arsenal versus Everton, the Kevin Campbell derby.
How do you feel about that, Kevin? Isn't that hell, right? Who would you want to win?
It's brilliant. I'm an Arsenal fan. I've always been an Arsenal fan, but I never want any harm to come to Everton, do I? So whoever wins. It's cool by me. You know, I want Arsenal, but if Everton win, hey, listen, I'm happy. It makes no difference to me.
Debbie, thanks for tuning in. She's off to watch Emmerdale. Fair play. I would as well if I didn't have to do this. I'd be all over that. Okay, George, is it a weekend of football for you, or Emmerdale, or
EastEnders? I've been invited to do another similar podcast I've got to do now in an hour's time. I've got to write up a couple of contracts. There's going to be a club that will announce a deal with soon. So I'm working on that and going to watch some football and hopefully some time with the kids and my missus, who I think don't recognise what I look like right now.
No, I just tell them to tune into the channel and they'll catch you at least 3 times
I know.
a week. You know?
That's exactly right.
Liam, you've got a rare Saturday off, but it's all work really when you're supporting and writing about Newcastle. Is that right?
No Saturday off for me. As soon as I'm off this show, I'm in the work mode and I'm working on the game. So we get all that done. And then I think I'm just going to have a chilled weekend. It's the sun's shining. It's nice and warm outside. I might get out on my bike and sort of have a little cycle around Northumberland somewhere.
If they get beat, you won't see him. That'll be it. The kids will have to do their own thing. He'll be throwing stuff around the house like I will be. Okay, that's it for another show.
Pete. Who won last week?
It was a draw between Rob Lee and Super Kevin Campbell. It was 3 points each.
So I win again because Rob ain't on here now. It's a joint. I'll take that.
Wow.
There you go.
He WhatsApped. He wanted. To be fair to Rob, he was like you. He was all over it. He wanted to know. My apologies. Yeah. Jason, George were steady away, but it was a case of must do better. They'll be hoping for a better performance.
Get rid of Jace. He's getting his results in late. Get him out.
I've got to say quick before we dash. Sean Ollier in Dubai. Sean, massive Man United fan. He's a great guy. Sean's taken Man United to win 4-0. Good luck to you. We're going to give a last flash of the TFA code to our guys because they deserve it. There it is. Bonus room code. Get in there. Get amongst it. Get some bonus points for TFA, the football app, the football #1 community worldwide. George, amazing job there. That's about it. I'm off to lie down and hope for 3 points. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.